Good morning, this is Tim Hill, Thursday morning, February 24th, bringing you another update on the action down at the legislature as it concerns the pension. Yesterday morning, the Senate Finance Committee heard Senate Bill 1609, which is the Senator Yarborough bill, which contains the Senate versions of pension reform. It does a number of things, most of which are detrimental to the members, some which would be helpful to the system long term, but I will say is a far better bill than what we saw come out of the House committee last week. So here's what it does. It takes employee contribution rates and raises them by 2% a year for 2 years so that the employee contribution rate would max out at 11.65%. After that, it changes the relationship of what the employee contribution rate has been in the past, where it's fixed at 7.65%, to say going forward the employee contribution rate would be 1/3 of the total combined rate of both the employer and the employee. But it would remain capped at 11.65%. At the same time, the employers would have to continue the current rate that they're paying under what's called a maintenance of effort provision, so that more cash continues to flow into the system so that the fund reaches a higher funded level, that's 70 to 80% in a shorter period of time. For future hires, it would set the rate at 13.65%, or 1/3 of the rate, again whichever is less, with the maintenance of effort provision by the employers. For current hires, the drop remains untouched, and that is very important, of course, for our current members. There would be no changes to the drop, but would eliminate the drop for future hires. And we are opposed to that because the drop has virtually little to no cost associated with it. Probably the most important thing, the most damaging thing in the bill has to do with the COLA, and it would affect everyone, both current retirees, current actives, and future hires. It changes the formula significantly. It would say that there is no opportunity for a COLA until the fund is funded at least 70% of market value. That's a higher threshold than the actuarial value. Today, the actuarial value of the fund is 67.7%, and the market value is 50%. So you can see clearly the difference there. It would take at least 15 years to get to that 70% threshold. Then what it would further do is lay a second formula over top of it to say that you only get money in any year where the 7-year smoothing period reflects earnings of 9% or greater. It's virtually impossible to get to, so virtually the COLA would be at an end. The other thing that would happen in the bill is for the future hires, it does a number of things. It changes the average final compensation formula from best 3 to best 5. There was an amendment to remove as being pensionable any work that is performed that is reimbursed to your employer by a third party. And the target of that are the police officers who direct traffic at construction sites off duty. This language is much more encompassing than that. They did not speak with us about it prior to committee. We made that known during committee, and I believe that there's a willingness to fix that. There's also a willingness to continue to talk about the COLA formula and come up with a formula that does fix the underlying fund while continuing to provide you, our retirees, with an equitable increase from time to time or year to year. The importance of that was expressed to them in the committee. They have to constantly be reminded that you do not get Social Security, or most of you don't. Therefore, you get no Social Security COLA, and you're also subject to the constant increases in health insurance premiums, particularly those of you who are bridge employees who are not yet Medicare eligible. I think we've got a lot of traction in the Senate where we can continue to work on perfecting a bill before it goes to the floor and as it goes to the floor. The other important event that happened yesterday is for the first time we were able to sit down with Kirk Adams, the Speaker of the House, and go over with him his bill, which is far worse for our members than the Senate version. It disallows any overtime in your computation. It gets rid of the drop. It increases your contribution rate to be the same as that of the employers, ends the drop, and ends the COLA forever and ever. So that's a pretty bad, egregious bill that puts all of the weight of fixing the issues at the system on the weight of the employees and the retirees. I would say that we had a very good open meeting with the speaker yesterday where we exchanged a lot of formula ideas and benefit ideas and contribution ideas. Nothing is solid out of that yet now, except that I believe that he realizes that his bill started as a scorched earth policy, and that we are going to work upwards from there. I think he is cognizant after our conversation again of the situation of the retirees that unlike the members of ASRS, again, get no Social Security, so get no Social Security inflator. Most folks don't get Medicare. Showed him the increases in health insurance over the last decade and what that means to our retirees. So I believe that he's going to be willing to go forward and have serious conversation about that, as well as the employee contribution rate and possibly even the drop. I'm not as hopeful with him on issues with the drop, but we did engage in what I would describe as a pretty productive conversation about that. So that's the update for today. We'll continue to keep you advised and informed of what's going on, and I know this is long, it's a lot of information, but I appreciate your attention to it, and we'll continue to give you updates as we have information. Thank you.